All right, good morning, everyone. Welcome to
Good morning.
welcome to the Thursday, May 20th, 2021 board meeting of the Sacramento County SACOG Sacramento Area Council of Governments. Great to see you all here, and we will begin with roll call, please.
Thank you. Director Baines?
Present.
Thank you. Bernasconi is absent. Is alternate Howdeshelt here? I don't see him, so I'll mark her absent. Bradford?
Here.
Branscombe?
Here.
Boulahan?
Here.
Burris?
I'm here. Good morning.
I'm sorry, who was that?
John Harris.
Yeah, that was, I thought you said Harris. Forgive
Oh, I'm
me.
sorry. I said Burris, but I will
Oh.
note you. I'll
I'm
note that
sorry.
you're here. That's okay. Thank you very much. Clark Kretz?
Here.
Desmond?
Here.
Frericks?
Here.
Frost?
Here.
Gallardo?
Here.
Gog?
Yes.
Guerrero?
Here.
Harris?
I'm still here.
Yes. Oh, sorry. Thank you. Joyner? Absent Kennedy?
Here.
Kozlowski?
Here.
Lozano?
Here.
Middleton?
Here.
New? I'll note that Director New is here. Sander? Absent Saragosa?
Here.
Saylor?
Here.
Chenier?
Here.
Spokley?
Here.
Stallard?
Here.
Soon?
Here.
Thomas?
Here.
West? Absent Vice Chair Jennings?
Here.
Chair Gore?
Here.
And ex officio member Benny Paul.
Present.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. And as I jumped into doing roll call, I neglected our Pledge of Allegiance. So if you would join me, and I'm going to ask Director Bradford from Yuba County, if you would lead us in the pledge, please.
Sure, absolutely. Please stand. Salute. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you very much. All right. So let's see. Lynette, did you have any housekeeping announcements you need to make before we move forward?
Thank you. Just a reminder that the meeting is being recorded and live video streamed and is available on our website. And then just a reminder to our board members that if you're not speaking, if you would please mute your devices so we don't have any feedback. Thank you.
All right, thank you. So we are first going to adjourn as the SACOG Board of Directors convene as the CVR SAFE Committee. And we need to include members from that group for roll call. So Lynette, if you can see if those members are joining us this morning.
Yes, thank you. Director Nguyen is absent and Director Young.
Present.
Thank you.
Great. So with that, the CVR SAFE agenda contains the following consent items to approve the minutes of the January 21st, 2021 meeting and approve and release the draft CVR SAFE fiscal year 2021-2022 budget.
Move to approve.
Second, Martha Guerrero.
Okay, so I heard a motion and a second. Not sure who moved approval. Somebody want to tell me who that was?
Member Gog.
Okay, member Gog. Before we take a vote, is there anyone from the public who wishes to comment on either of these items?
There's no public comment.
All right, so we have a motion and a second, and do a full roll call in it.
Yes, thank you. Director
right.
Baines,
Aye.
Bernasconi absent. Bradford,
Aye.
Branscombe,
Aye.
Houlihan,
Aye.
Burris, absent. Clark Kretz,
Aye.
Desmond,
Aye.
Frericks,
Aye.
Frost,
Aye.
Dialdo,
Aye.
Gog,
Yes.
Guerrero,
Aye.
Harris,
Yes.
Joyner, absent. Kennedy,
Aye.
Kozlowski,
Yes.
Lozano,
Aye.
Middleton,
Aye.
New,
Aye.
Sander,
Aye.
Saragosa,
Aye.
Sailor,
Aye.
Chenier,
Aye.
Spokely,
Yes.
Stallard,
Aye.
Soon,
Aye.
Thomas, West, absent. Vice Chair Jennings,
Aye.
Chair Gore,
Aye.
and Director Young. I see Director Young nodding her head yes, so I'll note for the record she's an affirmative vote.
I was muted, so I couldn't say anything.
Oh,
Okay.
okay. Thank you. Motion carries.
Great, thank you very much. We will now adjourn as the CVR Safe Committee and reconvene as SACOG. And now we will move into closed session. So we're going to ask staff and members of the public to be patient as we hold the closed session. And we are going to,
Okay, we are officially streaming.
thank you very much. We have returned from closed session and I'll have Kirk Trost report out.
Yes, the board held two closed sessions. The first was a conference with labor negotiations pursuant to Government Code Section 54957.6. There is no reportable action from that closed session. The board also held a closed session pursuant to Government Code Section 54957, a public employee performance evaluation of the executive director. There's no reported action from that closed session.
Thank you. All right, let's move on to public communication. And this is an opportunity for anyone who wishes to address this board on an item that does not appear on the agenda. Lynette, did we receive any public comments via email, or do we have a member of the public who would like to comment?
No public comment.
All right, thank you. And we will then move to the consent agenda. Remove an item from the consent agenda, and if not, we can go ahead and take that item with one motion.
Sailor moves approval or second.
Who was the first? I heard it first.
Baines.
Director Baines made the motion, Director Saylor with the second. Nobody wanted to pull anything out. Any conversation or any public comment on this item or these items? All right, then let's go ahead and roll call for the vote. Vote, please.
Thank you. Director Baines,
Aye.
Bernasconi, absent.
Howard is here for Bernasconi, aye.
Oh, thank you very much. Welcome. Bradford,
Aye.
Branscombe,
Aye.
Houlihan,
Aye.
Burris, absent. Clark Kretz,
Aye.
Desmond,
Aye.
Frericks,
Aye.
Frost,
Aye.
Dialdo,
Aye.
Gog,
Yes.
Guerrero,
Aye.
Harris,
Yes.
Joyner, absent. Kennedy,
Aye.
Kozlowski,
Yes.
Lozano. Director Lozano, could you indicate your vote? Absent. Middleton,
Aye.
New,
Aye.
Sander,
Aye.
Zaragoza,
Aye.
Saylor,
Aye.
Chenier,
Aye.
Spokely,
Yes.
Stallard,
Aye.
Clune,
Aye.
Thomas,
Aye.
West. Absent Vice Chair Jennings,
Aye.
Chair Gore.
Aye.
Thank you. Motion carries.
Thank you, Lynette. And I do know that Director Lozano is having some internet issues, so that may be why he wasn't able to vote. So with that, we'll move to our first action item, and this is a resolution honoring Matt Carpenter upon his retirement. So I will pass this on over to James.
Well, thank you, Chair Gore. Things like this are always bittersweet, but it is time to honor one of our longest serving members of the staff, somebody who many of you know, and if you don't know him that well, you have a lot to thank him for. I'm actually going to tag team this presentation with Casey Lazan, our Deputy Executive Director for Planning and Programs. So I think Casey's going to go first, and then I'm going to add in. So if we can put the spotlight on Casey. I don't know how this all works. Let's hope everybody's internet functions here. There we
See
go.
how it goes. Yeah. Good morning, Chair Gore and members of the board. I am honored to kick off this resolution presentation for Matt today. Matt has been with SACOG for just about 20 years. And in that time, he has truly had his work and his fingerprints on the infrastructure that runs this region. And so let's first pause and think about that. We are so grateful to Matt for that. That is a tremendous legacy. What I'd like to do is read a couple of the clauses of this resolution and just give you a little bit of insight behind some of that. And then I'll pass it off to James. Whereas under Matt Carpenter's leadership in transportation, the Sacramento Area Council of Governments has established a reputation for excellence in metropolitan transportation planning and programming. Hard stop. But seriously, truly, Matt has put in the transportation world, he's put SACOG on the national map. His work has really brought resources, performance, attention into this region, and I know that all of the staff that he has worked with, you board members and your predecessors here, your staffs at your local agencies, the staffs and leaders at our member and partner agencies around this region can attest to that. Long before SB1, he has been an expert, like an encyclopedic expert on funding programs and creative strategies to pull together projects where no one else could really figure out how to do that. And everyone knows that, right? I know that there's going to be a lot said to that. Projects that have transformed and grown communities.
Gosh, we go from one pat on the back to another.
So I want to read another one. Whereas Matt has contributed to or overseen the distribution of more than $1 billion in regional transportation funding awards to road, bicycle, pedestrian, transit, and air quality programs that have advanced the goals of the region, cities, counties, and transit operators alike. And whereas Matt managed the adoption of the 2008 Metropolitan Transportation Plan, the first MTP to implement the regional blueprint vision. And I remember when Matt was the project manager for that MTP, it was a huge effort. I think if you were to actually add up Matt's years of service here based on hours between that and a lot of his funding, he's done 2 careers here with so much to show for it. But that transportation plan was a watershed plan. It was right after the adoption of the regional blueprint, and Matt was our project manager at the helm of that, really transforming the way that we worked as a region on transportation planning. And then from there, he was the creative force behind the funding programs that flowed out of that. And especially our long tenured board members will know that has been an incredible funding program that we have run about every 2 years since then. That has been, again, really transformative and impactful in our region. And then I also, on a personal note, because I know that many others will want to speak here, I want to say that Matt has been a supportive cheerleader for staff, for me in particular. And I want you to know, Matt, I greatly, sincerely appreciate that. And even though this is a retirement, you're not going far. And I know that we will still get to be in communication, working together, and that you'll share some of your advice with us as we continue to do the work of serving the region. So I'm going to hand it off to James.
Thanks, Casey. I'm also just going to read a couple of things from the resolution and tell you a little bit of my my experience getting to know Matt. So another whereas Matt Carpenter, through his leadership in the Transportation Research Board and other professional organizations, is respected nationally in the field of metropolitan transportation planning and programming, and has participated in applying national best practices in that field here in the Sacramento region. So I first knew about Matt before I knew Matt. People talked about Matt Carpenter and this guy out in Sacramento, and oh, he's at TRB or he's coming to town. So I knew about Matt before I knew him, but I also got to know him before I got to know SACOG, because Matt, if you're the few veterans we have left who go back more than 6 years may remember Matt did a stint out in our Washington, D.C. office at Transportation for America. And Mike McKeever called me and said, I've got a great deal for you. You know, you've got a player on loan for 4 to 5 months here. And it was right in the heart of us debating some really tough stuff in Congress with the National Federal Transportation Bill around performance measures and the use of data. And Matt came in, and I was like, oh, I've got to get this guy up to speed. He's not going to really know a lot about federal policy, and Matt was basically kind of schooling all of us about how things actually worked on the ground and all of these things. I was also supposed to actually try to get Matt to work just simply an 8-hour day, and I will tell you, I failed in that regard. But honestly, his work made a tremendous difference, even in just that short time in DC, advancing this whole notion of a data-driven, performance-based transportation set of policies. A couple of other whereases, and then I will hand it back over to the board. Whereas Matt Carpenter has continuously shown dedication and commitment to furthering the interests of SACOG's member jurisdictions, transit operators, and Caltrans District 3, whereas Matt Carpenter will retire on June 30th, 2021 from the Sacramento Area Council of Governments after 20 years of distinguished public service. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the SACOG Board of Directors hereby thanks Matt Carpenter for his dedicated and loyal service, commends him for his high level of professionalism in carrying out his responsibilities, and wishes him well in his retirement. I will tell you, a couple of years ago, some of you also remember, we decided that we would try to convince all of you that we wanted to raise membership dues that hadn't been actually raised since the Great Recession. And so my question is, well, what have we done for all of our member jurisdictions lately? And Matt came back with as if you know Matt and you know Matt's work, a 10-page memo of all the things we've done for every single jurisdiction. And I was honestly floored. I was like, wait, what? We've helped do all of this? Well, then absolutely we should raise membership dues. This is a good deal. People are getting a good deal because you're getting a piece of Matt and his expertise and his incredibly hard work. And then just finally, and I know there's so many things we could say, but I know as Amarjeet in District 3 knows, and Regional Transit, and those of you that serve on the RT board and many others, even more recently with the state competitive grants and SB1, and we try not to, I keep saying we should punch above our weight as a region. Well, Matt's eroding that because we've gone 4 for 4 in the last 2 cycles of state competitive grants. We've won the big regional things that we've helped out on with Caltrans and RT and many of you as jurisdictions. And so that 100% track record is going to be impossible to beat mathematically. But Matt, thank you. Thanks for everything you've done for this region. As Casey said, your your legacy will last a long time. And with that, I will turn it back to the board.
Thank you, Casey, and thank you, James. Well, Matt, there are a number of directors who want to chime in here. So I will start with Director Frost and, oh, actually Director Sander and then Director Frost, please.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Well, my job here, Matt, is really simple, and that is I've been delegated by the board to deny your retirement because we can't allow this kind of loss to the agency. No, we got some other great people working here. That's true, but you are an absolute standout that has done remarkable things for our region. It has been an honor to work with you, and so if you hear a bunch of no votes against this, that's why we don't intend to let you go. And then if that fails for whatever reason, I'm sure there are future collaborations that are possible here. So we would all be looking forward to that as well. So I don't want to go on forever. I think most of us could, but thank you, Matt, for all your good work here. We really appreciate it and look forward to seeing you in other great transportation related venues. Thank you so much.
Director Frost and then Director Harris.
Oh, hi, Matt. I imagine it's hard sitting through these types of meetings, but I want you to know that I second the motion that David just made. I hate that you're going. I want to personally thank you on behalf of Sacramento County District 4 for all that you've done. You know, when I was new, you did a lot to bring me down to SACOG and with my chief of staff and help us understand some of the opportunities that might be there. And you're just that expert that we always knew we could call and who would have answers and help us figure it out. And you look way too young for I'm just so jealous because I know I must be way older than you. I don't know what you're going to do, but I wish you all the best in every future endeavor. You deserve it. Thank you for your commitment to SACOG.
Director Frericks and Director Harris and then Director Frericks.
Yeah, Matt, thank you so much and congratulations on your very well-deserved retirement. We, on behalf of the entire city of Yuba City and all of our staff, I want to express our congratulations and thank you for you and all the work you've done, the clear dedication you have to SACOG and all the member agencies. They often have told me how responsive you are, professional you are, and specifically wanted to mention that how you've helped them streamline the application process for the last funding round. We have a brand new bridge over Feather River leading into Marysville, no small part to your effort and your professionalism, dedication, and you're so responsive, but beyond responsive, but you're also proactive, and you've reached out and taken the initiative on many things to help make things easier on our end. And really appreciate it and congratulate you on your very well-deserved retirement. I agree, you look way too young. You gotta get some of this.
Thank you so much.
All right.
Director Saylor, I think Lucas dropped off for a moment. So Director Saylor.
Oh, no, I'm here.
Oh, there you are. I didn't.
Oh, yeah.
Go ahead, Lucas.
I'll be brief, just adding into actually sort of tailing on to Director Frost and Director Harris's comments. I mean, I think, Matt, it's been said that he's been at SACOG for 20 years, but I think little do most of us know that he actually started at SACOG when he was 5 years old. So I'm not sure how that squares with the labor laws, but I'll leave that up to the attorneys to figure out. And I'm not sure I was able to retire, but apparently that's the plan. So unfortunately, we have to say goodbye for now to Matt. But I just want to thank you for your dedication to this organization. Always, for me, been available to listen, to talk, to discuss, and answer any question, no matter how sort of inane that my questions might be. Your encyclopedic knowledge of extends way beyond transportation. I think Casey referenced that, but it's to me, that's what I have most appreciated is that, you're known for the transportation knowledge, certainly, but I so appreciate that about you. Best wishes on your next chapter, of course, and whatever that entails, and look forward to continuing to be in touch. Thanks so much.
Thank you.
Director Saylor and then Director Spinner.
Thank you, Chair Gore. So, Matt, it is quite interesting to see all these, very young people retiring. It's making Tom feel pretty old, but the rest of us will deal with it in some way. Matt, thank you so much. I had the opportunity to work most closely with you in 2013 when I served as the chair of the Transportation Committee, and we worked together. You came forward with an iterative plan that by the time we got to the point of doing the funding round that year, everything was in order. Everybody would bought in. A lot of people who watch the SACOG board vote unanimously on issue after issue think that how could that possibly be? Are they simply rubber stamping everything that comes forward? But you know that we're not, that we work in advance to develop a shared understanding of data-driven decision-making, iterative development of the criteria for the funding rounds and for the other aspects of our business. And then we deal with a consensus through our committee process. You've been a key part of building that culture of providing information and expertise. So many people who have the kind of fierce, keen intellect that you have, the knowledge and grasp of information and technical detail, use it as a weapon, use it as a way to say no or to make things go their way. You've been just the opposite. You've used your talents as a gift to our region. You're always been available to every one of our agencies to help them understand the art of the possible, to help give us a path to move forward. So you have been so generous with your expertise and your time. The other piece that I want to recount is in 2015, I served as the board chair. And that year we were updating our MTP, SCS, and we had controversy. And in that, as we do each year, there's something, Bonnie, you have yet to see it, but there will be something that comes your way. That will be the conflict of the year. And that year it was, how do we make a reasonable approach to the Southeast connector? And Matt developed multiple scenarios, worked with all of the parties, and found a way for us to move forward together. Matt, I'm going to miss you a great deal. I really have appreciated the way that you have done your business and the way that you've helped our region move forward. And I think Casey's comments about your fingerprints on the infrastructure of our region are right on target. So I look forward to the next page to turn together, and I'll see you around the road.
Thank you.
Director Soon and then Director Chenier.
Thank you, Chair Gore. I want to echo all my colleagues' sentiments in that regard. Matt, I joked recently about being on Transportation Committee that nothing like going out when you're overseeing couple $100 million distributed to jurisdictions. That's a great way to go out. But I also want to just acknowledge not only just your what's been said about your intellect, your knowledge, but also just your passion for this work. I mean, that is can't be understated, and we all benefited extremely from that passion and our gratefulness for your being a resource to all of us, and just always being you and I talked many hours in the evenings just so I could gain a better understanding of things. And so I really appreciated your willingness to reach out and be that resource to all of us. We're going to miss you, but we do definitely wish you well and best of luck, and hope you will remain in contact. I'm going to echo Director Sander and Frost, as well as Kevin Busey. I have it right here from Kevin Busey. We absolutely object to this retirement, but nonetheless, we wish you well. I have a feeling you're going to go through with it anyway. So congratulations and best of luck to you. Thanks, Matt.
Director Chenier and then Stoller.
Thank you, Chair. I'll be brief because I agree with everything. This is something that we're all consensus on among the whole board, is that you will be missed. You were the person that we went to when there was a really complicated and difficult issue. And so I just want to say thank you. I've learned a lot from working with you and also just listening, and really appreciate everything you've done. You will be sorely missed here, and wish you well.
Director Sollard and then Director Benny-Paul.
I have to agree with, thank you. I have to agree with all the comments which have been said, so many things. We had a Hawaii city manager who once said, you can't pay people to care. Either they do or they don't. And there's never been a doubt about Matt and caring. And so Matt, the one word which has not yet been said is love. I want you to know I love you. I want you to know we all love you. Your staff loves you. And we are desperately going to miss having you as part of our team. Thank you so very much for everything.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Director Benny-Paul and then Director Jennings.
Thank you, Chair Gore. Matt, first of all, congratulations. I think it's been repeated many times that you are too young to retire. But I will state the fact that if you think you are not getting challenged enough by James and the team, we do have a challenge as a group of from all of the members. That was stated in the resolution that you helped us get $1 billion program. Mind you, we have $1 billion more need just in the next cycle. So we can give you plenty of challenge. So tell us what we need to do to keep you around.
Thank you.
But from our organization's perspective, I wanted to thank you for being a great partner with my team. And I speak on behalf of many who work with you on a daily basis. You've been a true professional, true consummate, and looking for ways to actually solve problems. And the part personally I enjoyed working with you is that you care. You care about the people you work with, you care about the community, and you care about making sure we as a group are successful. So thank you very much for that, and I wish you all the best in your next endeavors.
Thank you so much.
Director Jennings.
Thanks, Matt. Much has been said, and I just want to kind of add my love for you and what you do and the spirit in which you do it. I love your spirit. I love the fact that you always have a smile on your face. There's never a problem that you can't handle. Everybody has kind of described you in a way, but I simply call you the answer man. When I want to answer, I know that you come to Matt Carpenter. So you are the answer man. And I just want to let you know that when everything clears up, I want to take you to lunch and I want to know the secrets of retiring while looking so good. It's on me. Lunch is on me. I'm paying for that.
No.
Congratulations, Matt.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone, for your comments. Just a little bit of business first. We're going to approve this proclamation in case there's somebody who wants to make a comment, and then allow Matt to make some comments. So can I just have a motion and a second on the resolution honoring Matt?
Allard moves.
Zaragoza second.
Second.
All right, so Stallard and Zaragoza, that works great. So this will be very easy because we'll just do this by an aye. So you can unmute yourself, and all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any
What happens
abstentions?
if we say, what happens if we say no?
And he can't retire. That was the whole idea.
Yeah, I was thinking about being a no vote just to throw that out there.
That was the hope, but I guess it's only no to the resolution, right, Bonnie?
Is there anyone from the public, though, who would like to speak before we let Matt make a couple of comments? I just want to make sure we don't dismiss the public if there's anyone from the public.
I don't see any public comment.
Great, and I'm going to turn the floor or the camera over to you, Matt.
Brannigan.
Thank you so much. I mean, this is absolutely humbling to receive this recognition. You know, though I must say I'm still in a bit of denial that it has been 20 years and that I am something of an old timer around, SACOG. it's hard to believe that way back in 2001, I was new to California and I was beginning my journey at SACOG. I think the agency and region has really matured in so many exciting ways. We've become a state leader in some of our planning and policy work, and we've made billions of dollars, in critical transportation investments. And it's really been a blast, really fun to be a small part of all that change. And despite, I think we see the setbacks right now from the pandemic, but what I see, and I think we all see, is that our communities are just so much more vibrant and dynamic than they were 20 years ago. Over these years, it's been truly an honor to work for an amazing board of directors. I realize that some of the board, comes and goes each election, but what I don't see as any change is the commitment, and the sacrifice that you all make in giving back to your community and region. It really inspires me. And it also leaves me with a lot of hope, that the polarizing politics we see at the state and federal level, that maybe it can still get better someday if you keep making a difference. And so, despite your political differences, I just still find it remarkable 20 years later, how you all come together each month and find a way to agree on actions, that agree and help improve our region's quality of life. Thank you very much for that.
Thank you, Matt. And
I've also been very fortunate. Oh, sorry. There's a couple more thoughts.
Finish up, Matt.
Sorry, just want to also add that I've been incredibly fortunate to have the opportunity to work with so many dedicated and really hardworking colleagues here at SACOG. I think our agency is just the right size, to find new opportunities for staff and to not get stuck doing the same job for too long. And I'll be forever grateful, for everything I've learned here. I am so proud, of my amazing transportation team and my amazing management team colleagues. And I just know that they will have continued success here at SACOG. I think you are all in very good hands with them. And, while I'm energized, about what lies ahead for me, I'm really excited for what you will all continue to accomplish here. There are so many impactful initiatives underway, and I just know that the board will be there, to offer guidance and support to a very talented SACOG staff. And I'll be just cheering you all on. So thank you again for this. It's truly a humbling and very, very big honor to me. Thank you.
Thank you, Matt. And to your point, thank you as a staff member dedicated to your job, helping us as a region really learn how to work together.
Thank you so much.
It says a lot that the work, especially in this tough projects, transportation funding, that the work that you helped lead has allowed this group to work together. And that says an awful lot.
Thank you so much, Eric. And
So
thank
with
you all.
that, we do need to move on to some additional. Yeah, we're gonna really do appreciate it, Matt, and wish you all the best.
Thank you.
We'll move on to item 11, which is to adopt the final budget and overall work program for fiscal year 2021 and 2022. Loretta, good morning.
Good morning, Chair and members of the board. Give me just 1 minute to start my presentation here. Sorry about that. 1 second. Okay, good morning. Just want to make sure that you can see my screen.
Yes, we can. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. So the final budget and OWP for fiscal year 21-22 is ready for board actions this morning. As required by the Fixing America's Surface Transportation Act, SACOG developed the budget and OWP annually. The OWP defined transportations, air qualities, and other planning activities that support the metropolitan planning process for the 6 county Sacramento regions. This process takes several months to complete and involve internal and external stakeholders, including Caltrans, federal agencies, and other local partners. Here is just a quick timeline of the budget and OWP process. Staff submitted a draft OWP to Caltrans and federal agencies for review and comments back in March 2021. Staff received comments back from Caltrans and federal agencies in April, and then additional comment on May 3rd. The board reviewed the draft budget and OWP and released it for public comments in April 2021. Today, staff is seeking board actions to adopt the budgets and the OWP so that staff can submit it to Caltrans and federal agencies for review and, for final approval, so staff can begin operations of the expenditures starting July 1st, 2021. Here are some of the final changes from the draft budgets to the final budgets. So the final budget reflects comments from Caltrans and federal agencies, which is included in attachment J with SACOG responses. There are no fiscal impact to the budgets, just minor updates to the OWP, which includes description changes and then also updates on some of the timeline in some of the deliverables, and then also to include the carryover from the current fiscal year. And also updating the outreach that is related to the COVID-19 impact. The final budget resulted in a net revenue increase of approximately $727,000, which includes $471,000 from federal funding, $211,000 from service to other, which is mainly SAFE, and then $39,000 from related to the board fees. Here's just a quick look at what's included in these two budgets. The first one is the operation budgets, which includes the overall work program activities, Capital Valley Regional SAFE, use of the managed funds, and also capital asset and other local activities. And the board and advocacy budget includes board activities, partnership, federal and state advocacy work. Here's just a quick overview of the revenue. For the fiscal year 21-22, revenue totaling $27.4 million, a decrease of $5.5 million comparing to fiscal year 2021. This is due to projects and funding that were ended or nearing completion in fiscal year 2021, which includes the regional bike ped data collection projects, Next Gen Transit, Big Data, the REAP Round 1 funding. Here's just an overview of the revenue by funding source. 37% is from the federal government. These includes the planning funds, the formula planning funds, the congestion mitigation and air qualities fund, the regional surface transportation program. The state makes up about 27% of SACOG revenue. These includes the REAP funding, the SB1 formula and competitive grants. Logo makes up about 19%. This is the TDA revenue for administrating the 4 counties LTF program. Service to other, which is SAFE, is approximately 11%, and other is 6%. This includes the $526,000 fund balance and other reserve funds used in the fiscal year budget 21-22. The expenditures for fiscal year 21-22 totaling $22.8 million, a decrease of $3.6 million. As noted earlier, revenue decreased. The expenditure associated with those projects are also decreased. Here's a quick breakdown of the expenditures by categories. Approximately 46% is staff-related costs. Consulting costs is about 14% of the budgets. Others and overhead is approximately 16%, and pass-through is 24%. This is mainly the REAP funding that is passing down to the member jurisdictions. Here's a quick overview of the board and advocacy budgets. The total budget for fiscal year 21-22 is approximately $950,000, an increase of $161,000. The final budget includes the third year of membership due increase that the board approved in April. As a result, the use of the board and advocacy fund is reduced down to 50,000 comparing to 150,000 in the draft budgets. Here's the breakdown of expenditures by categories. Staff cost that is related to the advocacy and technical support to member jurisdiction is approximately 49%. Board expenses is about 10%. Advocacy, which includes the federal and state advocacy work, is approximately 31%. And partnership is about 10% of the board advocacy budgets. With that, I'm going to pause and see if there's any questions related to the budgets.
Thank you, Loretta. Any questions from directors? I know that I believe Policy and Innovation Committee had an opportunity to discuss this, and we've gone through it a few times. Looks like there are no questions from directors. Any public comment on this item?
No public comment.
All right, thank you. With that, then happy to entertain a motion.
Jennings will make the motion.
Second motion.
I heard second from Kozlowski. All right, let's go ahead and have a roll call, please.
Thank you. Director Baines?
Aye.
Howdeshelt for Bernasconi?
Aye.
Bradford?
Aye.
Branscombe?
Aye.
Houlihan?
Aye.
Burris absent. Clark Kretz?
Aye.
Desmond?
Aye.
Frericks?
Aye.
Frost?
Aye.
Gallardo?
Aye.
Fogg?
Yes.
Guerrero?
Aye.
Harris?
Yes.
Joyner absent. Kennedy?
Aye.
Kozlowski?
Yes.
Lozano? He might still be having technical difficulties. I'll mark him absent. Middleton?
Aye.
New?
Aye.
Sander?
Aye.
Zaragoza?
Aye.
Saylor?
Aye.
Chenier?
Aye.
Stokely?
Yes.
Stallard? Director Stallard, could you indicate your vote? Okay, I'll come back to him soon.
Aye.
Thomas?
Aye.
West absent. Vice Chair Jennings?
Yes.
Chair Gore? Chair Gore, could you indicate your vote?
Aye.
Thank you. And coming back to Director Stallard, if you're there, could you indicate your vote? Okay, I'll mark him absent, but motion carries.
Thank you, Lynette. We will move to item 12, which is to approve the SACOG fund balance policy. And Loretta Sue will also present this item.
Thank you, Chair. Just give me 1 minute here. Let me just start up my presentation also. Let's see. Okay, same thing. This policy was discussed at the Policy and Innovation Committee. So I'm just going to do a quick overview of what's included in this fund balance policy and some of the proposed change. So the purpose of this policy is to establish guidelines for SACOG to maintain adequate fund balance to mitigate any financial risks that can occur from unforeseen revenue fluctuations and expenditures. The policy also addressed the SICOG requirements under the Government Accounting Standard Board Statement GASB 54, which includes the establishment and the use of the various components of the fund balance. And it also established guidelines for how the fund balance is being used and by the order it's being used. The policy has not been updated since 2011, so the revisions recommended that the policy be reviewed by staff annually and make any recommendation on changes as part of the budgeting process. Here are just some of the quick overview of the SACOG Planning and Administration Funds changes and proposed updates. Per GASB 54, the fund balance has to be categorized in the following 5 categories. These includes the non-spendable fund balance. These are mainly prepaid balances and it cannot be spent. The second category is restricted fund balance. These are restricted by external parties and are earmarked for specific purposes. The third category is the committed fund balance. This category of fund balance is reserved for specific purposes, and the board action is required to formally establish, modify, or rescind any of these commitments. Currently, there are 3 reserves that is within this category, which includes the Board and Advocacy Reserve Fund Balance, the Community Design Grants, and also the board approved the establishment of the CalPERS Employer Pension Pre-Funding Trust in April of 2021. The fourth category is the assigned fund balance. These funds are set aside to be used for specific purposes. Currently, we have the Legal Defense Reserve. This is set up to be used to defend any legal actions. The board authorized the use of this reserve to pay for expenses related to the litigations filed against the SACOG 2020 MTP and SES. In April, the board authorized to increase the balance back to the 500,000 level. The second is the Capital Equipment Reserve. This is to be reserved for future equipment purchases. Currently, there's approximately 131,000 balance in this reserve account. Staff is hoping to accumulate up to 300,000 due the annual unspent capital budget equipment. The third reserve is the contingency. Staff is recommending setting up this contingency fund for future work or also to use for match, and hoping to accumulate up to $1 million in reserve for any of these purposes. The final category is the unassigned fund balance. This includes the cash required to keep SACOG operating for a period of 3 months, which is approximately $3.2 million. In April 2021, the board took actions to increase the reserve by $625,000 from the dissolution of the SACOG Financing Corp., which brought the balance up to $2.1 million. Staff is hoping that incremental funding will occur through the budgeting process as funds are available to fully fund it up to the required level. And lastly, is included in the unassigned fund balance is the SACOG managed funds. The SACOG management has been used to accumulate funds from local agencies for reimbursement for projects originally expected to be completed with local funds, but instead it was able to fund it with available federal transportation funds. Through these reimbursement arrangements, SACOG has been able to accumulate flexible local dollars without the use of without the burden of state and federal restrictions and processes. The managed fund can be used for committed projects in the community design program, funding exchanges with member jurisdictions, and loans to other projects that are ineligible for federal transportation funding. And a big credit that goes to Matt and his team that been working in trying to accumulate the reserve balance. Staff is working on a fund balance policy and then also weigh on how to grow this fund in the futures. Also included is the delegations from the board to the executive director to borrow funds from the managed funds to cover SACOG short-term cash flow needs should that be necessary. Lastly is the, in addition to the general fund, SACOG also manage other major revenue special funds. These includes the PNC funds, the STA funds, the State of Good Repair, LTF funds, and then also the SAFE fund. All these are restricted fund balance. The SACOG board or the SAFE board of directors require approval of the use of these funds or approve the annual budgets and authorize the executive director to take any action required to implement these funding programs. This concludes the overview of the fund balance policy and some of the proposed change. With that, I'm going to pause and see if there's any questions.
Thank you, Loretta. Any questions from our directors? You know, I just have one quick question, and that is the item which makes sense to me, allowing the executive director to have that short-term ability to address cash flow needs if needed. Have we had that issue? I mean, I know it's a lot of times it's an issue of actually having the liquid cash, but has James had to do that, or the executive director had to do that in the past?
So this is, we have not had this need in the past couple of years. You know, in the previous, in historically, there had been some needs, you know, due to some of the expenditures that it takes a long time for to get reimbursement on. So there's definitely the time that there might be a gap in terms of the immediate needs to fund the current operations. So basically, staff is recommending to include that as part of the fund policy, just to make sure that if there is any needs, that the executive director have the authority to do that without going to the board, which, you know, could take, you know, it can't happen if the immediate needs occur. And then obviously, you know, staff is hoping to build up the operating cash reserve, you know, up to the 3 months operating level. So hopefully with that, we don't have to have the needs for that. And then also what we built in there also is that if there is any borrowing occur, that we are hoping to pay back by end of the fiscal year. So there is no issues in terms of the reporting.
Great, thank you very much. Any other questions on this item from directors or anyone from the public?
There's no public comment.
All right, then we'll bring it back for consideration.
Move approval, Saylor.
Second the motion, Baines.
All right, a motion from Saylor, second from Director Baines, and roll call, please.
Thank you. Director Baines?
Aye.
Howdeshelt for Bernasconi?
Aye.
Bradford?
Aye.
Branscombe?
Aye.
Houlihan?
Aye.
Burris absent. Clark Kretz?
Aye.
Desmond?
Aye.
Frericks?
Aye.
Frost?
Aye.
Gallardo?
Aye.
Gog?
Yes.
Guerrero?
Aye.
Harris?
Yes.
Joyner? Absent. Kennedy? Director Kennedy, if you're there, could you indicate your vote? Okay. I don't see him. I'll mark him absent. Kozlowski?
Yes.
Lozano? Absent. Middleton?
Yes.
New?
Yes.
Sander?
Aye.
Zaragoza?
Aye.
Saylor?
Aye.
Chenier?
Aye.
Oakley?
Yes.
Stallard?
Aye.
Soon?
Aye.
Thomas? Aye. West absent. Vice Chair Jennings?
Aye.
And Chair Gore?
Aye.
Thank you. Motion carries.
Thank you very much, Loretta. Appreciate your work. And we'll now move to item 13, which is Chair's report, board members' reports, and executive director's report. So a couple of things. First of all, just a reminder that May is Bike Month, and we said thanks to folks who participated in the kickoff. I said that I would ride my bike to work, and now I only have 11 days left to do that, or fewer than that with the weekends in between. So I'm going to do that. I encourage others of you to participate in May is Bike Month. And Director Jennings, your grandson on his bike is adorable, but hopefully you get out on your bike as well. So can't use grandkids to get out of the challenge.
I accept.
Our board retreat will be held on Friday, October 1st. I know not everyone can attend that date, but it was a date that most of us could attend. If you are able to attend part of the board retreat and not the entire day, that's okay too. Would love to have you join us. It'd be terrific to have you as we work on looking at the future as well as continuing to build relationships with one another. Also, as we are moving out of the pandemic and into reopening up, I wanted to talk a little bit about next steps for SACOG and our board meetings. There's certainly interest in meeting back together in person. And so wanted to talk with you a little bit about that. I'm going to have James share with you what staff is looking at based on where they're at right now. They've all been completely off-site, and they plan to move staff back in mid-June. But I'll let James share with you what their thinking is, and then would really like to hear from you all any of your input as we look at moving forward. So James, I'll let you take it from here.
Sure, thanks, Chair Gore. And please, Eric and Lynette and others jump in. So as Chair Gore just mentioned, I think as you all know, we have been entirely remote here at SACOG. We are looking at beginning transition back into the office in July. It'll be a slower transition with more of us in August in the SACOG office, as long as everything stays hopefully on a very positive trajectory. With that, and again, I think Chair Gore really wants to hear people's thoughts about in-person and hybrid, like, you know, looking at a new world of hybrid everything these days. But what we've talked about internally is obviously there's no board meetings in July. We are assuming that the executive order that allows for remote meetings continues. That's an assumption. Even if the state is sort of reopening June 15th, we are assuming executive order stays in place. Your June board meeting would be remote, and that we would actually go to in-person committee meetings and board meetings starting in September. My thinking for that is give us August to get basically back on our feet, get the boardroom set up, and there's the ability to do some hybrid meetings as well. We're actually installing and making sure we have the technology for, so that in the future going forward, some of you do have the ability to be hybrid. That would probably not be for committee meetings per se. I think those will be actually much easier to do in person, but maybe full board. So September, hopefully seeing you in person, committees, board, and then of course October 1st board retreat. So that's our thinking so far. Eric, Lynette, anything I've either missed or mischaracterized? Go ahead.
No, not at all. Just to jump in at a high level, I think SACOG is in a challenged position as a 6-county organization in the way that the Brown Act is constructed. It really limits our ability to be innovative in how we meet. And sadly, without the legislature taking action to change the Brown Act, we're going to be limited. And so James kind of alluded to the fact that we would like to be innovative and give the board the ability to continue some of this hybrid. But the way that has to work under the Brown Act is to have notice locations. And so we are going to try to identify our thinking right now is set up 4 sites around the region so that we put them at a public office, and we have those consistently every month, so that if you let us know that it's easier for you to get to Roseville instead of downtown Sacramento or to Woodland, that we would set that up on a regular basis for the board meetings. And we have it on our legislative platform to ask the legislature, and I know that a coalition of local government organizations asked the governor to delay the repeal of the executive order, but I think, it's something that we hope will change so that we are able to give you flexibility to meet remotely. And I think we will still have Zoom for the public to access it. It's just the voting. There's strict limitations on how you can vote remotely.
Thank you, Eric. And I know we were talking a little bit about what it makes sense to meet. And it really depends on that executive order, right? So if we could, in August, have a hybrid meeting, one of the challenges with that is that about 10 of us are going to be at the GSAC offsite that day, meaning 10 directors are already going to be offsite, and we will be able to participate because we were able to work with GSAC on the timing of that meeting. But then that means we'll have 10 people calling in anyway and Zooming in. So that's the reason we're looking at September. But I want to hear from any of you. I do see the value of hybrid. If we can continue to allow hybrid, depending on what works with staff and not, definitely great. But then I know that we want to be able to meet in person as well. So any thoughts, comments, Director Bradford?
I just want to say that I'm definitely looking forward to meeting in person. And should the legislature or executive orders permit it, I certainly like the flexibility of, having the hybrid option, especially for those of us that are just a little bit further out. I mean, I'm not incredibly far compared to some of the folks, but, just with other meetings and things, sometimes it would be helpful to have that flexibility. So.
Thank you, Director Bradford. Director Sim?
Thank you, Chair Gore. I'll echo Director Bradford's comments. Having the flexibility as an option, I think, is beneficial. I do want to also point out that I've seen a markup of the Bagley-Keene Act, which governs state boards' open meeting policy, similar to Brown Act. And there seemed to be a way they seem to or are working to enable that. So I was just point that out to SACOG staff. Maybe there's a way to inquire about that and follow a parallel path. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments from directors? Director Frost?
Yes, I just want to echo both of those comments and say that I like having the flexibility of a hybrid option. I wonder what is the reason behind having to the Brown Act? Is it so public can attend in person to those public meetings? Why we would need a specific address? Sorry for my ignorance, but
that's fine. So as currently written, the Brown Act requires a 72-hour notice in advance of every location where a board member will be participating. And personally, my opinion is it's a little bit antiquated thinking, given that we now have Zoom. But there have been a number of bills going through the legislature trying to reform the Brown Act, and this piece in particular has been slow moving in terms of changing the access from where the elected officials are accessing, regardless of if SACOG has, for instance, a public location that's ADA accessible downtown Sacramento. They still want to have access to where board members are participating from. But there is hope. And Christina Lockey, our policy manager, has been following a bill that's likely to be a 2-year bill that might be more progressive and look at doing the Brown Act in a way that's similar to how we've been operating this last year. But yeah, the main requirements right now are noticing in advance, accessible to the public, and then we also have to have the technology set up for you to participate there and them to be able to view the meeting from that remote location. So we would have to know in advance kind of where you're going to be calling in from.
And was the reason why James mentioned committees would be harder, we would need to do those in person, was that because of this conversations at the state level? My understanding is they're thinking about continuing the cities and counties, but pulling back on any other local boards. So I wasn't sure I understood the rationale behind that, but I heard that was the conversation at the state level, like school
It
boards.
was- Yeah.
Is that why James
So
said that?
it was really around just the logistics of us having to set up remote locations 4 times a month for 4 different meetings at all
Oh,
those various locations. That's all. Yeah.
Got it. Got it. Okay, thank you. Yeah, I like the flexibility. So I agree with the first 2 gentlemen who spoke. Thank you.
Thank you, Director Frost and Director Gallardo.
Yes, thank you. Similar. I think I love the idea of us getting back into a building and being able to connect with each other. But if we can do anything to have that flexibility, specifically because there's times when it makes it where you can get to another meeting in the day when the travel was making it a little challenging on occasion. But I do see that in-person meetings, we definitely get more public feedback, it seems like. But I know in our city council meetings, it's a little of both. Some people really want us to continue that so they can call in on Zoom and participate in it, and especially if they have trouble traveling. And then we also get the folks that want us there in person. So if we can work on some type of a hybrid, I know I've had to do that before when you called in from somewhere else and you have to post a sign that says your door's open. And realistically, we're not really getting anyone that's coming to the door. So if we can do some kind of a hybrid where the public can come in at one central location, it'll encourage all of us to come certainly to our in-person meetings. But then if we have a challenge, we can do that hybrid and call in with Zoom. So I think that'll be a great win-win for all of us.
Everyone for your feedback. Part of it is, I'll have Michael go, part of it is just waiting to see the legislature, what decisions are made, right? And then we'll have to pivot and go from there. Michael, did you want to make a comment?
Yeah, I mean, same thing exactly. We'll see where the legislature goes. I do think there's some issues that they're trying to work through on this. But I mean, just for example, for myself, like I'm in a hotel room right now because I have a client meeting in Paso Robles, and then, but for like a normal day, I get like this meeting falls on the same day as my Pioneer CCA meeting. So I would drive from Placerville to Sacramento, and then from Sacramento to Auburn, for that meeting, which is, I know, a lot of moving around on a particular day. So having that flexibility would be great. But I'm not sure that the bill is going to get done this year, but we'll see.
All right. Well, thank you everyone for your feedback. Really do appreciate it. More to come, and we'll go from there. If you have additional feedback, let us know. This is our opportunity next for board member reports or director reports. Anyone like to report out on an item or issue of interest to our colleagues? Director Thomas?
Yes, good afternoon. Just a brief comment. I know many of you remember our SACOG's 2016 Citizen of the Year, Bob Smart. And he was an advocate for walkable, livable communities, especially the bicycle community and pedestrian improvements to communities. And just wanted to let our SACOG family know that Bob passed recently, and today is his memorial. So just want to wish Bob Godspeed, as I'm sure he has a host of angels on a bunch of bikes. And he certainly was a real champion of sustainable communities. So just wanted us to know.
Thank you for letting us know, Director Thomas. Director Desmond.
Thank you, Chair Gore. Just a question on the receive and file item 20 on the debrief from the 2021 funding round. James, I just had a question. I really appreciate that document. I think that was really great and really helped educate me. Will there be any affirmative steps by SACOG board to actually reach out to the local agencies to discuss that debrief and engage them directly? I'm encouraging, obviously, SAC DOT folks to do that very thing, but I just didn't know if you had anything structured in mind.
Thank you, Director Desmond. When we begin, and we'll begin soon, to think about the next funding round, we absolutely would do that. We can certainly construct opportunities, in advance of that, and just at least make sure our agencies, and there's a lot of them, but our agencies are aware of that debrief. And I know there's been lots of conversations that have been happening just even recently, but we'll look at making something more formal or extending more of an intentional opportunity, if that's what I hear you asking.
Yeah, that's great. Thanks, James. I appreciate it.
Sure.
Thank you. And Director Hodeschelt. For those who don't know, Bruce Hodeschelt, Vice Mayor of the City of Roseville.
Yeah, Bonnie, let me start by saying, since we're virtual, I think Bike to Work Month qualifies. You can do a stationary bike. I think that qualifies, right? One of the things we had on our consent last night, and what was really gratifying, was we had approval of another section of Roseville's multi-use trail system. And I got a email earlier this week from a constituent encouraging my support, and they said, while it's lesser known than it's the American River Trail system, this is a person who bikes a lot and thinks that it's on par with that. I know Council Member Gallardo, one of her colleagues, uses our trail system quite a bit. It's good to be back in the SACOG boardroom virtually, and to see a lot of familiar faces and a lot of colleagues from the past. They all seem to fall in the S's. There's Sanders, there's Soon, there's Stallard, but this is thank you for the great work you're doing, and look forward whenever Mayor Bernasconi can make it, to be participating in your efforts.
Thank you, Bruce. All right, any other comments from directors? If not, we'll move to James for his Executive Director report.
All right, well, thank you, Chair Gore. Dr. Hodeschelt, nice to see you. Welcome. Maybe just to key off your last comment, as Director Gore said, May is still Bike Month. If you want to do it stationary, that's fine with us, but please do get out there. This beautiful weather is not going to last too much longer. I've sent out, and we can certainly resend if you'd like, a lot of that information about where you log in, how you log your miles, the friendly competition, social media. You probably know this all. There's a national run on bikes. I was gonna get my wife a new bike the other day. They said, sure, if you want to wait until December, you can do that. And Director Hodeschelt, and for everybody else, we're in the middle of actually constructing, I think, a visionary plan to connect every single community in this region through a trail network. And if you can imagine the transformational effect that would have, our staff, Rosie Ramos and Victoria Cacciatore, did a great job getting an online survey instrument out there. We're hoping for 1,000 responses. We had over 3,000. You'll be hearing more from us about that as we go. Another 10 days of May is Bike Month, but hopefully every month is Bike Month, and more to come on the Trails Plan. I mentioned in my Executive Director update, I hope you all have a chance to read that as it comes out, typically the day before boards or committees. In the May revise, we talked a lot about our efforts to try to flex our regional 6-county muscle in the legislature and how far we have to go on that. But I will tell you, we are finally in the game, as a lot of people are in this budget cycle, with a one-time surplus that's a little eye-popping. There's a $500 million pot of money in there for SCS, Sustainable Community Strategies implementation, $500 million statewide. That has been, I can tell you, inspired by our Green Means Go program. And so our efforts around Green Means Go, all of your efforts to weigh in with our state legislators, the bipartisan letter that was just sent recently by our regional delegation has made a tremendous difference. But we're not over the finish line, right? Again, those of you that work on this every day in the legislature knows you can't take that for granted. That's just the May revise. The next 6 weeks is going to be pretty critical. But I am very hopeful this is our year to get something in the door for Green Means Go based on all the homework and the hard work that you all have done. So stay tuned on that. We have hired, speaking of advocacy, federal lobbyists. They have now begun work on our behalf, and they will be coming to the Policy and Innovation Committee, I believe, at the June committee meeting, and you'll be hearing from them directly at the Policy and Innovation Committee, because there's a lot of things happening at the federal level. Finally, it's nice to finally say that. It's been a long time since I could genuinely say things are happening. Whether they'll actually be successful is another question. But in terms of the infrastructure bill, the transportation reauthorization bill, appropriations, the return of earmarks, or what we call congressionally directed spending, all of those things are really important. Couple other things to wrap up. As I say in my email, congrats to Placer County, first in the region to pass and adopt their housing element. And not just that, I think a lot of really great policies in that housing element. You know, all of your jurisdictions are updating your housing elements. Please be in touch with us. We're trying to keep tabs on all of this. We have the Mind the Gap effort here at SACOG and through the region to look at how we can be more welcoming, streamlined approval for more housing products, more mixed income housing, and closing all those gaps that we talked about. Just yesterday, we submitted our letter in terms of state policy and climate change. The state has a plan called CAPTI, Climate Action Plan for Transportation and Infrastructure. Comments were due yesterday. Many of us submitted, including SACOG, comments on those. On the proposal, we look at that, expect that to be finalized over the summer with a lot of public input and dialogue. But I know you all know this because we do it every day and we do it in our long range plan. We're going to have to be increasingly pretty fine-tuned about the greenhouse gas reduction and climate benefits from a lot of the work we do around transportation and infrastructure, including adaptation, resilience to extreme weather events. And then finally, there was no workshop today, which I'm kind of glad we didn't try to fit that in for the board, but there will be we'll return to doing a board workshop in June, and the topic will be next generation transit. As that study wraps up, and there's a lot of interest around the region that you'll hear more about through the committee cycle in June. We've got an excellent speaker from the Los Angeles MTA. I know, don't think skyscrapers in downtown LA. Those of you that know LA think suburban Los Angeles, think actually smaller communities in the county. And I think a lot of what they've been doing down in LA MTA through sort of an approach with innovation, microtransit and more is going to be really applicable to the kinds of things that many of our operators are working on here, and is a big theme in our next generation transit initiative, which is wrapping up here in the next couple of months. So just a preview of your June workshop, and that wraps my report.
Thank you very much, James. Appreciate it. Guess we need to let people know that Elk Grove adopted their housing as well. So good for them. And it's hard work. So it's a hard work for everyone ahead of you. So with that, the last remaining items on our agenda are the receive and file. And if there aren't any questions on any of those, I do encourage you to click on those and see what else is taking place with SACOG. Then looks like we will be adjourned until our next board meeting, which is Thursday, June 17th, 9:30 a.m. So thank you, everyone. Really great to see you. Appreciate all the great comments that we heard today.
Get out